Hello, my name is Joel Z. Williams. I'm the Director of Products for Peaceable Operations. People in my neighborhood call me the Poor People's Advocate. Today, the purpose for this talk is I want to bring to your attention a study out of the University of Pennsylvania that indicates that there may be a new, I think, a potential health hazard to Americans from Chagas disease. Now, first, let me start by saying there have not been any cases documented yet of transmission between bedbugs and human transmitting Chagas disease. So let me preface this statement by saying that. But what I want you to know is that there is, let's give a little, let's start with the basics. Okay, in 1909, a man named Carlos Chagas was working in South America. They were having a problem with railroad workers coming down with the disease and falling sick. And typically what would happen is they would get real lazy, lethargic, they'd lay down and eventually die. They didn't know what was causing this, so they called in Dr. Chagas to come look at it, and he originally thought that it may have been something with yellow mosquitoes. That they were thinking more along the lines like yellow fever. It wasn't until they started following the life of these railroad workers and saw how they lived. Many of them were living in camps near the railroad that they were working on. So if you can imagine a canvas tent in the woods, and that is where he finally made the connection. And the connection was with this parasite. This is known as the kissing bug. Some people call it, what are they? The barber is also known. Some people call it the cone nose bloodsucker. It has a lot of names. It's, I think its Latin name is a I won't even try to pronounce it, but it is commonly referred to as the kissing bug. Now, the reason it gets that name, the kissing bug, or the barber, is because of the way that it bites people. Typically, it'll get you when you're sleeping, and it'll get on your face, and it'll get into a corner of your eye, maybe, on your lip, and create a bite that looks something like that. And it's not painful at all, because just like bed bugs, they will insert a numbing agent and an anticoagulant as they're sucking your blood. So you don't feel it, but they're known to they get on your face. Now, what this University of Pennsylvania study did, this was a guy, his associate professor there, his name is Dr. Michael Z. Levy, and he's the author of the study. It was a co-study. He did his work at UPenn, and UPenn is an Ivy League school. It is the oldest medical school in America, very reputable school. And what they did is they did a joint research project with UPenn and a university in Peru. And my Spanish is terrible, but it is known as the Universidad Peruano Cayetano Herida. I'm terrible at that. But at the University in Peru, they did the heavy lifting in this research. Dr. Levy, what his team discovered is that bed bugs do poop after they feed on you. Most of us have already known this, but this is the first time it's actually been scientifically laboratory proven that when the bed bug bites you, it gets full of blood, it fills up like a balloon, and when it does that, it pushes out the excrement that was in it, and so it defecates on you. And so what this UPenn study was able to show is that by that defecation is the same thing that happens with the kissing bug. The kissing bug happens to be full, but typically it's wafer thin. The abdomen part is wafer thin until it bites something, and then it swells up with blood. And when it does that, it pushes out the poop that is in the rear of the abdomen. Now, in that poop is a protozoa known as T.Cruzi. It's trypanosome, I think is the name. The sickness that it causes is known as trypanosomus. Trypanosomus, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But Dr. Chagas named the parasite after his mentor, and so we know it commonly as T.Cruzi. That's the quick and easy name. That's the parasite, the protozoa. Okay, so we know for a fact that the kissing bug carries this protozoa in its gut. And so what happens is typically, going back to that railroad worker analogy, this bug likes to live in the woods. That's its natural habitat. Likes to stay near, and it feeds primarily on raccoons, wood rats, and what we're seeing now is, with a lot of migration from Central America, from Latin America, we're seeing a lot of people migrate here from El Salvador, from Nicaragua, from Central America, and then certainly Peru. We're seeing them come up from Colombia, from Panama, from Latin America. This disease kills 10 to 30,000 people a year. It's estimated, the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta estimates that possibly there's been 300,000 cases of Chagas in America. Now, Chagas it's a weird thing where not everybody comes down with the trypanosomiasis, which is the sleeping sickness. It's called American sleeping sickness. It has the African cousin of it, we know, is transmitted by the tsetse fly. This is the sleeping sickness, and what it does is this protozoa gets in you, and it starts multiplying, and what it does is it typically will get into your heart or into your intestines and just start proliferating. So about 30% of people who get the actual protozoa to grow, and it does well in them, will develop some kind of heart problem. They get sleepy, they lay down, and they never get up. And hence the name sleeping sickness. It literally puts you down, and you just can't recover. Currently, there is no like the big pharma, Merck or Pfizer, doesn't make the vaccine. There is a vaccine or a cure for it. I don't want to say vaccine, I'm not certain on that, but I know that there is a cure for it, but you would have to contact the CDC directly and they'll make it there. It's not commercially available because we're not used to this. North America is not used to it. There's a scientist that is a doctor who works in tropical and infectious disease down at Baylor University Medical Center. His name is Pete Hotez. He calls it the forgotten disease of a forgotten people. And typically what will happen is this disease is rampant in impoverished areas where people, there's not a lot of sanitation, and older homes, you'll see it. And like I said, they prefer the woods. They'll be out in the countryside. So we're not used to seeing it in cities, but it is happening increasingly because we've got that mass migration coming from Latin and Central America. Now, and it's a good chance that they have a hitchhiker in their bag or in their bedding or something like that. Now, so far, let me give you a look here. In the yellow is the states in the United States where there have been cases of kissing bug bites, and I don't know for a fact if these are substantiated cases of transmission. I just know that this is where bedbugs or kissing bugs have been found throughout America. So you can see pretty much most of the southern U.S. extending from California all the way over to, I guess that would be Virginia, north of Maryland. It looks like all the way over to Maryland. So it has a wide range in America. Now, here's the big deal. This is why I'm so excited about this, or I should say, worried about it, is the University of Pennsylvania and that school in Peru. What they found is that this Chagas disease, this protozoan, can be bidirectional, meaning it can go both ways through a bed bug. Now, they did it with took 10 mice that were infected, and then they put 20 bed bugs in with that infected mice, or vice versa. I can't remember, but they put in, one was infected, one wasn't. They put it in there for 30 days, and the mouse came down with the protozoan disease, the trypanosomiasis. So, and they did it the other way. They put infected bed bugs in there with a mouse that was not infected. So the potential exists, and I created a chart to show you what a likely scenario. Let me get up close here. Now, a likely scenario might be that you see the mouse in the middle. The mouse is really the key to why I'm worried, because mice actively hunt bed bugs. And I'm working backwards here, in kind of like in a mirror. But you can see if a mouse, we know that the kissing bug, if it's infected with the protozoan, it can bite a dog or a cat, typically a dog that is outside, that doesn't have a dog house, would be very vulnerable. Cats, certainly, because cats, they'll eat anything. So it's very likely they could eat a mouse that has been infected. But this is the critical thing here, is the mouse is really the linchpin. Because if the mouse eats an infected bed bug, or is around an infected bed bug, because a bed bug will feed on mice as well, use a mouse as a blood host, or a dog as a blood host. So that mouse is the central link. And again, there's not been a confirmed case of transmission, but what I'm trying to show you is that the likelihood exists. That a very, very likely scenario that a kissing bug infested home that has, a dog could, the dog is bit, bed bugs bite the dog. Now the bed bugs have the protozoan in them. And one of these researchers said that the gut of the bed bug is exceptionally well produced, a good producer of the protozoan. I think she said she'd never seen so many inside in the gut of an insect. So the bed bug can be a vector, which is a fancy word for transmitter. And so the reason why I'm so animated is because I'm scared to death that this could be deadly. Now, I like going back to the numbers. This thing kills, the Chagas disease from the kissing bug kills about 20 to 30 people, 30,000 a year, And what I'm hoping is that the Centers for Disease Control will issue a warning, and this will be a game changer for tenants that are living in dwellings that have bed bugs, because no longer could the landlord can't make the argument any longer that, oh, it's a nuisance, it's like fleas, oh, it's like mosquitoes. Not anymore. If it can be proven, if we're probably going to wait until somebody dies. Unfortunately, that's the way it works in America. Somebody has to die, and then a lawsuit has to be brought, a wrongful death lawsuit. But the fact of the matter is, it's coming, and it's just a matter of time. And so what I want to tell people is that if you live in an apartment that is infested with bed bugs, and your landlord is sitting on their hands, and they're not doing anything, sue them. Because now you have incredible information from a reputable university that they could be potentially at harm. And it's no longer a nuisance issue. It is a habitability issue. Let me back up real quick and explain that concept of habitability. In legal parlance, when you go to rent an apartment, if you were to walk into an apartment and you open the door and the landlord's with you, and you open the door and there's a big hole in the floor, or there's a big hole in the roof, or there's water just coming out of the toilet, that apartment is considered uninhabitable, meaning nobody is going to rent an apartment when it has those conditions, right? And so the way the law works is, if you rent an apartment that is uninhabitable, you have basically broken any contract that you make. Any lease agreement is null and void, because that is commercial. You're basically getting money for something that is valueless. And so the concept of habitability is critical to anyone bringing a lawsuit in small claims court or whatever to their landlord. If you're going to sue your landlord on a habitability issue, you have to show the judge that that apartment is commercially valueless. If somebody were to walk into that apartment and the landlord disclosed to them, We have bed bugs. We don't have bed bugs right now, but we had bed bugs 6 months ago. The tenant prior to you, we sprayed, we did everything we could. Would you still like to come on? Chances are most people are going to say no. And if they do say yes, if they do agree to rent the apartment, they certainly are not going to want to pay top dollar. It's going to diminish the price of it. And so what happens is landlords openly conceal that fact. They openly don't tell prospective tenants, even if they ask. And so what happens if you walk into an apartment and you ask them, and hopefully you've learned by now that you have your cell phone recorder going whenever you enter into these negotiations with the landlord, you record that conversation. They don't need to know you're recording, but you have your tape recorder rolling. You walk in there and you ask them point blank directly, has this apartment ever had bed bugs? Have you ever had trouble with bed bugs here before? Get them on record. One way or the other. No, we haven't, or yes, we did 6 months ago. And if they admit that they did, you have two choices. You can either turn on your heel, which I recommend, and go find somewhere else, or you can ask to bargain. You say, listen, you want $600 a month for an apartment that I could potentially develop bed bugs in? I'm not going to take it for that rate. I'll take it for half. Or if I do get bed bugs, I want it in the contract that you're going to pay to have the pest control guy out to spray it. Get that in writing. So what I'm talking about here, and this is very critical. I want you to remember this. If you don't take anything else out of this conversation, I want you to remember this. Habitability only works if you have an intent to remain in the dwelling. I'm going to say that again because a lot of people fail to recognize this. They'll get bed bugs, they'll have a problem, and they'll break their lease and they'll take off. And they'll go live somewhere else. If you can endure it, you can stand and make some money. If you take off, the court is about equity. The court is about making both sides whole again. So what the court is going to say, if you take off, you have no intent to remain in that dwelling, the court is going to say, well, you had a 6-month lease. You lived there 10 days. The landlord you left, you went to live somewhere else. The landlord technically could sue you for the rest of it's called waste in legal terms. The rest of the remaining time on that lease, the landlord could take you to court and literally win against you that you broke your contract, you took off early, you didn't, there was 5 months that he didn't get paid on a 6-month lease. So that judge is going to say, well, I'm going to get rid of all that money that you supposedly owe on something, this apartment. I'm going to do away with that. And that would save you, I don't know how much that would be, but it would probably be close to $2,000, $3,000. And we'll just call it a wash. You walk away, they walk away, and both parties are whole again. That's what most courts are going to do. This changes everything because now, if this is no longer a nuisance. Now that landlord is not just civilly liable, but probably criminally liable if they misrepresented a material fact. If it can be established that the prior tenant had bed bugs or somewhere else in the building had bed bugs and they did not include that to you, they did not disclose that to you, oh my God. You are looking at punitive damages. Now, punitive damages is defined as the court trying to punish a party for doing some egregious behavior. So that's what I want you to know. Thank you. My name is Joel Z. Williams. Some people in my neighborhood call me the poor people's advocate. You will recognize me by my white hat, but you will know me by my virtuous ways. Thank you.